The twin moons of planet Zenora hung in the deep violet sky, their light shining through the crystal towers of the royal palace. The air inside the palace was filled with tension. Guards and servants moved quietly, afraid to speak. Inside the grand birthing chamber, the alien queen, Elira of Zenora, lay on her glowing crystal bed, her skin pale blue and her breath heavy. Elira, the ruler of all Zenorans, had never shown weakness before. She was known for her power, her wisdom, and her beauty that glowed brighter than the moons. But tonight her strength was fading. The royal healers surrounded her, their hands glowing with soft blue light. They whispered alien prayers, trying to ease her pain outside the chamber. The royal guards waited in silence. The people of Zenora had heard that their queen would soon give birth to the heir of the empire, a child who would one day rule the galaxy. But none of them were ready for what was about to happen. As Elira screamed one last time, a flash of white light filled the room. The baby was born, the healers gasped. One dropped his tool, another stepped back in shock, for in the queen's arms was not a blue-skinned Zenoran child, but a human baby. The baby's skin was soft and pale, its eyes bright and brown like the soil of faraway Earth. It cried loudly, its small voice echoing across the chamber. For a moment no one moved. They simply stared, unable to understand what they were seeing. Elira looked down at the baby and smiled weakly. A tear rolled down her cheek. "My child," she whispered, her voice shaking. "My beautiful child," one of the healers, an old alien named Dran, stepped forward. "Your Majesty," he said quietly, This cannot be. No Zenoran has ever birthed a human before." The queen looked up, her eyes filled with both love and fear. "He is mine," she said softly, "no matter what he looks like." But outside the chamber, rumors had already begun to spread. The guards whispered to each other, "The child. It's not one of us. How is it possible? Did the queen betray the royal blood?" Within hours, the story spread through the palace like fire. From servants to council members, everyone was talking about the strange child. Some said it was a curse, others said it was a sign of the gods. By the time the royal council gathered, panic had begun to rise across the city. The Zenoran people were proud of their pure blue blood. For generations they had seen humans as weak creatures, a lesser species from a small planet far from their stars. Now, their queen, the symbol of their perfection, had given birth to one of them. Inside the throne hall, council members shouted and argued. "This cannot be allowed," said one elder, his silver eyes burning. "The child must be examined." "It may be dangerous," another whispered. "If the people see the baby, they will lose faith in the queen." But not everyone wanted to harm the child. One man stood quietly in the corner, Commander Kale, the queen's most trusted guard. His heart beat fast as he remembered the queen's words to him before entering the chamber. "Promise me, Kale," she had said, "if anything happens, protect my child." Kale knew what he had to do. He stood at the queen's door later that night. The palace was silent, the moons high above casting a soft glow. When he entered, he saw Elira sitting by the window, holding the baby close to her chest. "They are coming for him," Kyle said quietly. "The council is afraid," Elira nodded slowly. "I know," she whispered. "They think he is a mistake." "But Kale, he is not a mistake, he is hope." Kale looked at the tiny human baby. His small hands moved, reaching for Elira's hair. He was peaceful, innocent, and unaware of the chaos around him. "My queen," Kale said, "the people will not understand. If they discover the truth, they will try to take him away." Elira closed her eyes, tears falling again. "Then I must hide him," she said. "Until the time is right." Kale stepped closer. "I will protect him, my queen," he said firmly, "even if it costs me my life." Outside the chamber, a shadow moved in the hallway, a spy for the council. He listened to every word, and when Kale left the room, the spy whispered into his communicator, "The queen's child is human." Far above Zenora, the message traveled through space, carried by data streams toward the Galactic Council, and somewhere in the darkness of the stars, someone received it and a voice whispered, "So, it has begun." Back in the palace, Queen Elira looked down at her baby and smiled softly. "Sleep, my little one," she said. "One day, they will know who you truly are." The baby yawned, and a faint glow shimmered in his eyes. The queen froze for a second. Surprised, the light was not alien, not human, something new, something powerful outside. Thunder rolled across the violet sky, as if the universe itself had taken a deep breath. The impossible had happened. A human child had been born from an alien queen, and somewhere beyond the stars, destiny had begun to move. Morning light spread across the golden towers of Zenora, but the royal palace was far from calm. Whispers filled every hallway, traveling faster than sound. The impossible birth of the human child had become the most shocking secret in the galaxy. Servants spoke in hushed tones, their eyes darting around to make sure no one was listening. "It's true," one said. "The queen's baby is human." "Human," another repeated. "How could that be?" Inside the council chamber, a storm of voices rose. 12 alien lords sat around a floating crystal table, each face showing anger and confusion. "The queen has broken the sacred code," shouted Lord Verac, pounding his fist. "The royal blood of Zenora must remain pure." Another council member, Lady Thera, whispered coldly, "If this rumor spreads beyond our world, every empire will question our strength. We will lose our honor, our power." But one elder, the oldest of them all, leaned forward slowly. "If it is true," he said, his voice trembling, "then this child is a sign. Something beyond our understanding." The council turned silent. The air grew heavy. Outside, thunder rumbled softly across the violet sky. At that same moment, in her private chamber, Queen Elira sat by the cradle, watching her baby sleep. His tiny chest rose and fell gently, a soft warmth glowing from his skin. Elira smiled faintly, but her heart was filled with fear. She could hear the voices of the council even through the walls. "They are afraid of you, my child," she whispered, touching the baby's hand. "They don't understand what you mean to this world." Suddenly, the door opened and Commander Kyle stepped in, his face pale. "My queen," he said softly, "the council has called for you. They want to question the birth." Elira looked up slowly. "Question?" she repeated, "or accuse?" Kale didn't answer. His silence was enough. The queen stood, wrapping the baby in a silver cloth. "They will not touch him," she said firmly. "He is my son." When Elira entered the council hall, the air grew cold. The lords bowed slightly, but their eyes were sharp and full of judgment. The queen stood tall, her blue skin glowing softly under the light of the crystal table. Lord Verac rose, his voice deep and hard. "Your Majesty," he said, "we have heard troubling news." The queen said nothing. Holding her child close, Verac continued, "Rumor claims that your child is not of our kind, that he is human." A wave of whispers moved through the room. The queen lifted her head proudly. "Rumors spread like fire," she said calmly. "But even fire cannot burn truth." Lady Thera stepped forward. "Then show us, Your Majesty," she said. "Show us the child." Elira's eyes narrowed, but she did not refuse. She slowly pulled back the silver cloth, revealing the small face of the baby. The room fell silent. No one moved. The baby's brown eyes blinked slowly, looking around the strange faces that surrounded him. Verac stepped back. "By the stars," he muttered. "It's true." Lady Thera turned away, covering her mouth. "This cannot be," she whispered. "It's a crime against the galaxy." Elira spoke softly. "This child is not a crime," she said. "He is a bridge." "A new beginning." Verac slammed his hand on the table. "A bridge to what? Weakness, pollution of our race?" Kale stepped forward from behind the queen, his hand resting near his weapon. "Watch your words," he warned quietly. But the council ignored him. Lady Thera's voice trembled with fear. "If the Galactic Council learns of this, they will see it as a threat to every species. They will come for him." Elira's eyes darkened. "Then let them come," she said. "They will not take my son." The council erupted into shouting. Some demanded the child be hidden. Others whispered that he should be destroyed before the truth spread. Amid the chaos, a small crystal drone floated above, unseen, recording every word. In the shadows, a spy watched silently, sending the secret transmission far beyond Zenora's skies. That night, the palace was filled with unease. Guards doubled their patrols, and Elira's chamber was locked from within. Elira sat by the window, watching the stars flicker across the black sky. The baby slept peacefully in her arms, unaware of the fear that surrounded him. Kale stood guard at the door, his expression grim. "They are sending a report to the Galactic Council," he said. "It's only a matter of time before they arrive." Elira's heart ached. "Then I must prepare," she whispered. "The world will not be kind to what it cannot understand." Outside, rain began to fall, glowing softly against the crystal walls. The wind carried faint whispers through the corridors. voices of servants, guards and spies all speaking of the Queen's forbidden child. In the communication tower, far above the palace, the spy uploaded the secret recording. The message flew across the galaxy, marked with one chilling line. The alien Queen of Xynora has given birth to a human child, light years away. The Galactic Council's sensors picked up the signal. Red alarms flashed and a mechanical voice said coldly, "Violation detected. Mixed species birth confirmed." In that instant, Elira felt a strange heaviness in her heart, as if the stars themselves had turned their eyes toward her. She looked down at her baby, brushing her fingers through his soft hair. "They will come for us," she whispered, "but I will never let them take you." The baby stirred and opened his eyes. They glowed faintly again, that same mysterious light from before. Stronger this time, Cale saw it and froze. "My queen." His eyes, he said in awe. Elira smiled softly. "Yes," she whispered. "He is not just human." "Nor Xynoran. He is something new." Outside the palace walls, thunder cracked again. The universe seemed to hold its breath. The whisper had escaped the court, and now the galaxy was listening. The night on Xynora was darker than usual. The twin moons were hidden behind thick storm clouds, and the sound of distant thunder echoed through the sky. Inside the Queen's private chamber, the air was cold and heavy. Queen Elira sat near the window, holding her baby close. Her mind was full of fear and questions. Every corner of the palace whispered about her child. The council's eyes followed her every step, and spies waited like shadows in every hall. The Galactic Council's ships were already moving through deep space towards Xynora. The Queen knew she had little time left. Cale entered quietly, his silver armor faintly shining in the dim light. "My queen," he said softly, "I've doubled the guards near your chambers, but if the council arrives, I'm not sure how long we can hold them." Elira nodded slowly, her eyes fixed on the baby's peaceful face. "They are afraid of what they don't understand," she whispered. "This child will change everything." Before Cale could speak, a strange light flickered near the window, a faint blue shimmer that grew brighter. He reached for his weapon, but the Queen raised her hand. "Wait," she said. "I know this light." The shimmer grew into a glowing portal, and from it stepped a man, tall, human, with dark eyes and a scar running across his cheek. His clothes were torn, his expression full of pain and longing. Cale froze in disbelief. "A human?" he whispered. "How?" But the Queen already knew. Her lips trembled. "Aaron," she breathed. The man looked at her with soft eyes. "Elira," he said, his voice low. "It's been years." Cale's grip tightened on his weapon. "Who are you?" he demanded. Aaron looked at him calmly. "My name is Captain Aaron Cole of the Earth Exploration Fleet. I was lost in the outer systems 5 years ago." His gaze shifted to the baby and his voice softened. "And I think that's my son." Cale stepped back, shocked. The Queen's eyes filled with tears. "You shouldn't have come," she said quietly. "They'll kill you if they find you here." Aaron walked closer, every step heavy with emotion. "I had to see you again," he said. "When my ship crashed on Xynora, I thought I would die here. But you saved me. You taught me your language, your world." He looked into her eyes. "You taught me love." Cale turned away, pretending not to hear, but he understood now. The Queen's secret was not betrayal, it was love. Forbidden love between two beings from different stars. Elira held the baby up slightly. "His name is Lior," she said. "He carries both of us in his blood." Aaron's eyes filled with wonder as he touched the baby's small hand. "He's perfect," he whispered. "He's proof that our worlds don't have to be enemies." But the Queen's expression darkened. "The Council will never believe that," she said. "To them, our love is a sin, and this child is a threat to everything they control." Aaron clenched his fists. "Then we run," he said. "I can take you away. There are systems beyond the Council's reach." Elira shook her head slowly. "You don't understand. I'm the Queen. I can't leave my people behind. They will suffer if I disappear." Cale spoke at last, his voice low and steady. "Then we must protect the child if he is discovered. They will use him or destroy him." Aaron turned to Cale. "Then help me," he said. "Help me get him to safety." Cale looked at the Queen, waiting for her command. She hesitated, her heart torn between duty and love. "If I give him to you," she said softly, "I may never see him again." Aaron stepped closer. "But he'll live," he said, "and someday he'll return. Stronger than any of us." The Queen looked down at her child. his small face glowing softly in the moonlight. "He is not like us," she whispered. "He is something more." At that moment, the sound of alarms echoed through the palace. Red lights flashed across the walls. A guard shouted from outside the chamber. "Enemy ships are entering orbit!" Kale drew his weapon. "The council," he said sharply. "They're here!" Elira's heart raced. "Aaron, take the secret tunnels," she said. "Kale will guide you. Go to the northern mountains and there's a hidden base." Aaron nodded quickly, taking the baby into his arms for the first time. He held him carefully as if touching the universe itself. "I'll keep him safe," he promised. Elira's eyes filled with tears. "Tell him who I was," she said softly. "Tell him that his mother loved him more than life itself." Aaron hesitated, his throat tight. "I swear it," he whispered. Kale grabbed his communicator, calling his men to open the secret passage. But as the wall slid open, a loud explosion shook the room. The ceiling cracked and fire filled the air. Elira turned toward the smoke. Soldiers in golden armor were rushing in, led by Lord Varrock himself. His voice was full of fury. "Seize them!" he shouted. Kale raised his weapon, firing energy bolts across the room. Aaron shielded the baby with his body, diving toward the hidden tunnel. Elira stood tall in the chaos, her voice calm and full of strength. "You can kill me," she said. "But the future has already been born." Varrock glared at her. "That thing is not the future," he shouted. "It's a threat," but Elira only smiled sadly. "You're wrong," she whispered. "He's hope." The tunnel door sealed shut behind Aaron and Kale as the explosion tore through the chamber. The palace shook, the walls cracked, and the night sky flashed with fire. Far below the ground, in the dark tunnels, Aaron held the baby close, his heart pounded as he whispered, "Hold on, little one, we'll make it." Behind them, the world above burned, and in the shadows of war, a new destiny began to rise. The tunnels beneath the palace stretched deep into the heart of Zenora, glowing faintly with blue light from the walls. The sound of distant explosions shook the ground, dust falling from the ceiling like sand. Aaron ran through the narrow path, holding the baby close against his chest. Kale followed behind, scanning each corner with his weapon ready. Above them, the royal palace burned. Flames rose high into the dark violet sky as enemy ships descended through the clouds. The Galactic Council had arrived, and they came not to talk, but to erase what they called a galactic mistake. Aaron's breath came fast. "How far does this tunnel go?" he asked between gasps. Kale replied without turning. "Far enough to reach the northern mountains. There's an old base there, built during the Zyneran Wars. We'll be safe once we reach it." The baby stirred in Aaron's arms. Letting out a small cry, Aaron's heart clenched. "Shh. It's all right," he whispered softly. "We're going to be okay, little one." Behind them, the sound of footsteps echoed. Not human, not friendly, Kale cursed under his breath. "They found us," he said. "Move faster." They ran through the winding tunnels, passing glowing crystals and ancient carvings. The path ahead split into two. Kale stopped and pressed his hand to the wall, revealing a hidden switch. A doorway opened, and they slipped inside just as laser fire burst down the corridor behind them. The explosion threw Aaron to the ground. He rolled, shielding the baby with his body. Kale fired back, his weapon glowing bright blue. 2 soldiers fell, their armor burning. The third aimed a cannon, but Kale hurled a plasma grenade. The tunnel lit up with a roar of fire. Aaron got to his feet, shaking. "We can't keep this up," he said. "They'll send more." Kale nodded grimly. "Then we keep moving." They pushed through another chamber, this one full of old machines and broken energy cells. Aaron's eyes caught the ancient Zyneran symbols glowing faintly on the walls. "This place," he said, "it's older than the palace." Kale glanced around. "It was part of the First Empire, before Zenora ruled the stars," he said. "The queen used to say it was a place of miracles." Aaron looked down at the baby, whose eyes flickered with soft golden light. "Maybe that's what he is," he whispered. "A miracle." Before Kale could respond, his communicator beeped sharply. He tapped it. "Kale here," a static-filled voice replied. "The queen has fallen back to the throne hall. She's holding them off. But the palace won't last much longer." Kale froze, his throat tight. "She's still fighting," he said, his voice heavy with emotion. Aaron looked at him. "We can't go back," he said. "If we do, she dies for nothing." Kale closed his eyes, took a breath, and nodded. "You're right," he whispered, "but I swear, I'll make sure her son lives." They continued deeper into the tunnels until they reached a massive gate. Kale placed his hand on the scanner. "Access code Elira," he said. The gate opened with a hiss of air, revealing a long underground bridge that led toward the mountains. The cold wind hit them as they stepped outside. The sky above was full of fire, ships fighting, explosions blooming like red flowers in space. Kale pointed to the horizon. "There," he said. "We need to reach that ridge. There's a hangar hidden inside the mountain." But before they could move, a bright beam struck the ground near them. The force threw Aaron backward. Nearly knocking the baby from his arms, he looked up and froze. Descending from the sky was a black council ship. Its engines roared as it landed, and soldiers poured out, armored in silver and red. Their leader, a tall figure with cold silver eyes, stepped forward. It was Lord Varrock. Kale gritted his teeth. "He's here himself," Varrock's voice echoed across the valley. "Surrender the child," he said. "You cannot escape." Aaron stood his ground. The baby wrapped tightly against him. "You'll have to kill me first," he said. His voice steady, Varrock smiled coldly. "If you insist." Kyle fired first. Energy bolts streaked across the air. Lighting up the night, the soldiers returned fire. Beams striking the rocks, Aaron ducked behind a metal barrier. Clutching the baby, Kale moved like lightning, taking down soldier after soldier, but there were too many. His armor sparked, his shoulder burned. He kept fighting, shouting, "Go! Run!" Aaron hesitated, but Kale's voice grew desperate. "Go now! The Queen trusted me to protect him. Don't waste her sacrifice." Aaron ran toward the ridge, his legs burning behind him. The valley exploded in fire. Kale's final grenade burst in a bright flash, shaking the ground. When Aaron reached the mountain's entrance, he found a hidden door half buried in rock. He kicked it open and ran inside. The hangar was dark and filled with old ships covered in dust. He laid the baby on a seat and powered up the nearest craft. Lights flickered. Engines coughed, then roared to life. Outside, Varrock climbed the ridge, smoke rising behind him. He saw the ship lifting and shouted, "Stop him!" But it was too late. The ship shot upward into the stormy sky, cutting through the clouds like a silver arrow. Inside, Aaron looked down at the child. "You're safe now," he whispered. "Your mother's love will guide us." The baby's eyes opened, glowing golden once again. The light spread across the cockpit. Steady and warm, Aaron smiled weakly. "We'll survive," he said, "for her. And for what's coming next, behind them." The flames of Zenora burned bright against the night. The chase was over, but the real war had just begun. The ship drifted silently through the cold sea of stars. Far behind, the planet Zenora glowed faintly like a dying ember. Aaron sat in the cockpit staring at the endless dark ahead. His hands trembled on the controls. His heart still carried the sound of explosions, the memory of Elira's voice, and the image of Kale standing against an army to protect them. In his arms, the baby slept peacefully, small and warm, the only light in a galaxy full of shadows. The hum of the ship was the only sound, and every vibration felt like a heartbeat. Aaron whispered softly, "You're safe now." "Little one," his voice broke, "I promised your mother I'd keep you safe." The baby stirred, his tiny fingers glowing faintly again. This time, the light spread slowly across Aaron's arm, a soft warmth that flowed into his veins. His wounds, burns, bruises, the gash on his shoulder, and began to heal. The pain faded like mist. Aaron stared in disbelief. "You healed me," he whispered. "How is that possible?" The baby smiled faintly in his sleep, and the glow faded. Aaron looked down at him with awe. "You're not just human," he said. "You're something greater." Hours passed as the ship crossed the empty void. Aaron found an old holomap and searched for coordinates. He needed a place to hide, somewhere the Galactic Council would never think to look. His eyes settled on a small moon called Varine 9, a barren world once used as a mining outpost. He turned the ship and set course. The engines flared to life, and the stars stretched into long streaks of light. But across the galaxy, the story of the human child of the alien queen was already spreading like wildfire. Data transmissions bounced between systems, whispered in back channels and military networks. Some called it a miracle, others called it a weapon on Zenora. The palace lay in ruins. The queen was gone, her fate unknown, and Lord Varrock now ruled under the council's command. He stood before the shattered throne, his voice cold. "Find the child," he ordered. "The galaxy must not see what that thing truly is." Meanwhile, in a dark ship orbiting near the galactic border, A hooded figure listened to the intercepted signals. A human child born from alien blood, he murmured. Interesting. His eyes glowed silver. If the Council fears him, then he must be powerful. Back on the small ship, Aaron landed on the rocky surface of Varine 9. The engines hissed as he stepped out, the cold wind cutting through his suit. He carried the baby wrapped in Elira's silver cloth. The sky above was dark red, filled with swirling dust clouds. He found an old shelter half buried in the rocks. It was small, broken, but enough to keep them hidden. He repaired the power cells and lit the room. The flickering glow made the place feel almost alive. Days turned into weeks. Aaron hunted for food, repaired the ship, and cared for the child. He named him Lior Eliran. After his mother, every night he told the baby stories about her. Your mother was brave, he would say. She ruled with kindness and she believed in peace, even when the galaxy was full of hate. As Lior grew, strange things began to happen. Machines would power on when he touched them. Metal would bend and heal, and sometimes when he laughed, the air around him shimmered like sunlight on water. Aaron watched with both pride and fear. You're changing, he said quietly. You're becoming something the universe has never seen. One day, while exploring the rocks near the shelter, Aaron was attacked by alien hunters, bounty seekers sent by Verac. They surrounded him, their blasters aimed. Give us the child, one growled, and we'll let you live. Aaron raised his hands slowly, but his eyes were hard. You'll have to go through me, he said. The leader smirked. Gladly, the first blast hit Aaron's shoulder. He fell, but before the second shot came, a sudden wave of light burst from the cave behind him. The hunters froze as the air rippled. Their weapons melted in their hands. From inside the cave, Lior stepped out, small, calm, his eyes glowing gold like twin suns. His tiny hand was raised. The light around him pulsed like energy waves. The hunters screamed as their armor cracked and their ships crashed to the ground. Aaron watched in shock. Lior! He shouted, stop! The boy blinked and the light faded. The hunters were gone. Not dead, but lying unconscious across the sand. The silence after the storm was almost sacred. Aaron ran to him, kneeling down. Are you hurt? He asked. Lior shook his head slowly. They were going to hurt you, he said softly. I stopped them. Aaron looked into the boy's glowing eyes. You have power, Lior, he whispered. Power that no one else has, not human. Adzinoran. Lior tilted his head. Is that bad? Aaron smiled weakly. No, he said. It means your hope. That night, Aaron sat outside the cave looking up at the stars. He knew the Council would never stop hunting them. But now, he also knew something else. Lior was not just a child, he was a symbol. A symbol that humanity's courage and alien wisdom could exist together. Deep in the darkness of space, a new signal flashed from Verac's command ship. The child has been found, the message read. Aaron looked up suddenly, sensing something. His voice was low. They're coming. He turned to Lior, who stood at the cave entrance, his golden eyes bright like stars. They can come, the boy said softly, but they will never take me. The wind howled across the barren moon as the first Council ships appeared in the sky. The power of humanity had awakened, and the galaxy was about to feel it. The night sky above Varine 9 burned with streaks of fire. The Galactic Council's ships had found them, descending through the red clouds like falling stars. Aaron stood at the mouth of the cave, gripping his old plasma rifle. The sound of engines echoed like thunder across the barren land. Inside the cave, young Lior sat quietly, his golden eyes glowing faintly. He could feel the energy in the air, a pulse that matched the rhythm of his own heartbeat. He looked at his father and said softly, They've come for me. Aaron nodded, his jaw tight. Yes, he said, but they'll have to go through me first. Moments later, the ground shook as heavy ships landed nearby. Their searchlights cut across the rocks like knives of light. Soldiers in silver armor marched out. Weapons ready, behind them stood Lord Verac, his silver eyes cold as stone. Aaron Cole, Verac shouted, his voice echoing through the canyon. You cannot run any longer, surrender the child. And I'll make your death quick. Aaron stepped forward, aiming his weapon. You'll never have him, he said. He's not a weapon. He's just a boy, Verac laughed darkly. A boy, he sneered. That child is an abomination, a fusion of two species that should never have met. He is chaos given life. Aaron's eyes burned with fury. You call him chaos, he said, but he's hope. The kind your galaxy has forgotten. Varak raised his hand. Enough, he said. Kill the human. Bring me the boy. The soldiers charged forward, energy bolts lighting up the night. Aaron fired back, his shots precise and deadly. He ducked behind rocks, reloading as explosions tore through the air. Inside the cave, Lior could feel his father's fear. His small hands trembled. He wanted to help, but Aaron had told him to stay hidden. He could hear his father's voice shouting in the distance, and his heart ached. Then he felt something inside him. A spark, warm and alive. The same energy that had once saved them. He stood up and stepped toward the cave's entrance. His golden eyes glowed brighter. Outside, Varak advanced through the smoke, his soldiers falling one by one. Enough games, he said, raising his staff. End this. A beam of red energy burst from the weapon, striking the rocks near Aaron, throwing him back. Aaron hit the ground hard, his rifle sliding from his hand. He tried to get up, but his body refused to move. The air around him shimmered with heat, and Varak's shadow loomed over him. You should have stayed on your dying planet, Varak said coldly. Now, both of you will perish. Suddenly, a voice echoed behind him, small but powerful. Leave him alone. Varak turned sharply. His eyes widened as he saw Lior standing at the edge of the cave. The child's golden light shone against the red dust like a rising sun. Ah, Varak said, smiling cruelly. The monster himself. He raised his staff again. Let's see what you really are. But before he could strike, the air around Lior rippled. A golden wave of energy burst from his hand, spreading through the battlefield. The soldiers froze mid-step, their weapons melting into light. The storm above them parted, revealing a sky full of shining stars. Aaron lifted his head weakly, watching in awe as his son stood glowing like a living star. The light didn't destroy, it healed. The wounded soldiers dropped their weapons, staring in shock as their burns vanished. Varak staggered back, shielding his eyes. What are you? He demanded. Lior stepped closer, his voice calm. I'm not what you think, he said softly. I'm not a curse. I'm the proof that different worlds can live as one. Varak screamed in rage. Lies! He charged forward, swinging his weapon, but as it neared Lior, the weapon shattered into dust. The energy around the boy grew stronger, wrapping Varak in a field of light. The Lord of Zenora fell to his knees, his body trembling. In that moment, he saw visions, memories of war, of hatred, of endless fighting between races, and in those visions he saw peace. He collapsed, gasping. No, this can't be. Lior looked down at him. You can't stop what's coming, he said. The universe is changing. As Varak fell silent, the light faded. The soldiers dropped their helmets, some kneeling before the boy in silent awe. Aaron slowly stood, his voice shaking. Lior, he said. You saved us. Lior turned to him and smiled. You taught me to be brave, he said softly. That's human. Aaron felt tears fill his eyes. He pulled his son into his arms, holding him tightly. Your mother would be proud, he whispered. At that moment, the sky above them lit up with a new light. Dozens of ships approached, not the Council's fleet, but Zennaran vessels. The banner of the royal crest glowed on their hulls. Kale's voice came through Aaron's communicator. Captain Cole, do you copy? Aaron's heart leapt. Kale, he said. You're alive. Kale's voice carried both exhaustion and hope. The Queen still lives, he said. She's being held in the capital under Council control. We're gathering forces. Meet us in orbit. Aaron looked at Lior, who nodded quietly. We're going back, he said. Aaron smiled. Yes, he whispered. It's time to bring her home. As they boarded their ship, the soldiers who once hunted them now stepped aside. Some even saluted. The light of the engines grew brighter as they rose into the sky. Below, the red planet grew smaller. Ahead, the stars opened wide. A path toward destiny. The Father had returned, and the final battle for the Queen, and for the future of the galaxy, was about to begin. The galaxy held its breath. Stars blinked in silence as the rebel fleet gathered near the burning planet of Xynora. The warships shimmered in the black void, each one carrying a mix of human and alien rebels who had come together for one purpose: to bring back their queen. In the command ship, Aaron stood beside Kale, watching the holographic display of the capital city below. "The queen is alive," Kyle said firmly, "but the council has locked her inside the citadel. They plan to execute her before sunrise." Aaron's jaw tightened. "Then we move before dawn," he said. "We end this tonight." Beside him, Lior stood tall, his golden eyes glowing faintly under the ship's dim light. He was older now, stronger, though still a child in body. Yet when he spoke, his voice carried a calm power. "We'll save her," he said softly. "She's waiting for us." Kale looked at him with quiet awe. The boy's presence felt different now. Not alien, not human, but something pure, something that made even the soldiers around him feel braver. The fleet descended through the clouds of Xynora. Flames and smoke painted the sky red. The once beautiful capital was now a prison of metal and ash. The citadel towered over the city like a dark heart, guarded by the council's elite soldiers. Inside, Queen Elira sat in a cage of light. Her once bright skin was pale, her strength nearly gone, yet her spirit burned. She stared through the force field as Lord Verak, bruised and furious, entered the room. "You should have died with your palace," Verak hissed. "Your child has poisoned the stars. The galaxy will never forgive you." Elira lifted her head slowly, her voice calm and full of quiet strength. "It's not poison," she said. "It's truth, and you cannot destroy truth." Verak slammed his staff against the floor. "Truth?" he shouted. "Your child is an infection, a reminder that your weakness cost us everything." The queen smiled faintly. "If love is weakness, Verak," she said, "then perhaps it's time the galaxy learns to be weak." Before Verak could reply, alarms blared across the citadel. Outside, the rebel fleet opened fire. The walls shook and the lights flickered. Aaron's ship landed on the outer platform. Soldiers poured out. Kyle led the strike team forward, blasters firing. The sound of war filled the air. Thunder, explosions, screams, and courage. Aaron and Lior moved through the chaos, guided by a single goal: reach the queen. As they entered the citadel's grand hall, the air shimmered with heat and smoke. Council guards attacked from both sides. Aaron fought fiercely, but it was Lior's power that turned the tide. With a wave of his hand, energy rippled through the room, disarming enemies without killing them. Kale glanced at the boy and whispered, "He fights like his mother." They reached the central chamber. The door glowed with a complex lock, but when Lior touched it, the light turned gold and melted away. The door opened silently. Inside, Queen Elira looked up. Her eyes widened. "Aaron," she whispered, "and my son." Aaron ran to her, disabling the force field controls. The cage vanished, and Elira stumbled forward into his arms. Tears filled her eyes as she touched Lior's face. "You're real," she whispered. "You're everything I dreamed you'd be." Lior smiled softly. "I came back for you," he said. The reunion was brief because behind them the door burst open. Verak stormed in, his armor cracked but his rage alive. "You can't stop destiny," he shouted, raising his weapon, but before he could strike, Lior stepped between him and the queen. The room fell silent, the air shimmered. "I'm not here to fight you," Lior said. "I'm here to show you what you've forgotten." The golden light spread from his hands again, brighter than ever before. It filled the chamber, pouring through the walls and into the city beyond. Everyone, soldiers, rebels, even the wounded, saw visions in the light. They saw memories not their own, a Xynoran holding a human hand, galaxies sharing peace, worlds thriving together, the universe without war, without fear. Verak dropped his weapon, his eyes wide with tears. What is this?" he whispered. Elira looked at her son and answered softly, "It's truth, the truth you tried to bury." The energy spread farther, reaching orbit, touching the ships, and even the distant council worlds. For the first time in centuries, alien and human minds shared a single moment of understanding. When the light finally faded, silence filled the air. Soldiers lowered their weapons. The Council's warships stopped firing. The galaxy itself seemed to sigh in peace. Varric fell to his knees. "Forgive me," he whispered. "I was blind." Elira placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Now you see," she said. Aaron looked at her and then at their son. "You've done it," he said softly. "You've changed everything." Lior looked out the window at the endless stars. "No," he said quietly. "We all did, together." Later, as dawn rose over Zenora, golden light touched the ruins of the city. The queen stood on the balcony with Aaron and Lior beside her. Her people gathered below, no longer divided by fear. Elira raised her voice, her tone both strong and warm. "We once believed our worlds were too different to unite," she said. "But my son has shown us the truth, that humanity and Zenora share the same light, the same heart." The crowd bowed. Some wept, some smiled. And for the first time in history, humans and aliens stood side by side under the same sky. Aaron placed a hand on Elira's shoulder. "What happens now?" he asked. She smiled faintly. "Now," she said, "we begin again." Above them, the stars shimmered brighter, as if the universe itself was smiling. The impossible truth had become real. A human child born of an alien queen had united two worlds and changed the fate of the galaxy forever.